Look at these here in the rear. You know, you see the zinc plated is very, very well preserved, not much rust. All right, so I decided to take a break, guys, of all this pandemic. And speaking of break, I wanted to do this video about the brakes upgrade that I did. I've upgraded to the StopTech performance rotor, zinc plated. These are the slotted and drilled and slotted rotors, which are vented as well. And also changed the pads, which I went with performance friction pads. These are race compound. They're their street version called the Z-rated pads. Very aggressive high with high coefficient of heat absorption. So they're really dedicated for cars that see the track, and especially for lapping events, you know. And so it's been a year I have them. Did probably about 10,000, maybe a little bit more, 10,000 miles on these. Drove them through winter as well, daily driving, and a lot of track session. If I recall, I think I did probably about 6 or 7, so maybe a couple of hours of track session at iCar Motorsports. So that's, you know, a couple of hours is pretty intense on a break. And as far as their performance, now we're back a year later, used. So we're going to do some 60 to 0 performance braking, and see if, you know, after a year of use, if they still better than the stock RT setup that I had. Let's do this. All right, first attempt. We're at 60. 3, 2, 1, go. That was violent. My camera recorder just fell off. So first attempt, 156 feet from 58 miles an hour. So these are like coldest as they come, 42 degrees. You're not going to get the best performance, obviously. So let's do a second pass right away. There we go. $168 feet. So let's try another time. Now we're going down 150 feet. All right, let's do a fourth time now. All right, finally we got something. 144 feet. 144 feet. So that's the best right now. Let's see how it compares to the stock setup a year later. These numbers that I'm showing you today are on winter studded tires, as it was in my original review. So we're not going to get great results. And you know, this is 2 years after, so it's not exactly the same condition. So I wouldn't base my review on the numbers that we have today, but on a track day, these pads and rotors makes a big difference. You know, I was able to constantly do 3, 4. Hold on. was constantly able to do 2-3-7 sessions in a row. So that's like, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes. And, with a session in between each, so a cool down session. And it's amazing. For that kind of money, we're talking sets about $500, for the whole kit, $500-600, the rotors and the pads. It's quite impressive. I mean, it's not a night and day difference compared to the performance you gain on the street. You're not going to see it there, like, stopping power. Although the Z-rated pads from PFC, when you put them on, you can feel that the original grab, the initial grab, is a lot harder. In the RT, when you push the brake pedal, where you gradually, get more and more brakes, where when you put these pads on, you can feel the bite right away. As soon as you touch a little bit the pedal, you feel it, that there's a lot more bite to it. And on track, the performance for sure, I don't have the numbers, but it was a lot better than stock, probably by a couple of 3, 4, 5 feet, I don't know, but those feet makes a big difference on track. But what's most important is really being able to repeat, these actions on a 20-minute session. Hard braking, cornering, hard braking. So those are tough. Now, after a year with those, there's no sign of warpage. Yes, after the track session, I do have a little bit of a pulsating pedals, but then, after a couple of days of daily driving it kind of gets back to normal. For street driving, you don't feel it. It's really back to normal. It takes a few times for it to clear off, and I guess just to adjust from those hard sessions. And there's very, very little pulsating right now after a year of riding this car hard, and that's impressive. On the Camaro, I used to change those, even though with the DBM rotors and the Z-rated, I would warp those. I remember warping those quite a few times, and it didn't happen with these yet, so that's very good. And now, obviously, the braking, I would say the most important factor for you is the tires. And, the tires, as soon as you put wider tires in front, bang, your braking got improved. The better the tire, the wider the tire, the better braking you'll get. I mean, that's the number one factor in every car, either for acceleration, cornering, or braking. Tires, man, that's where the game is played. So, and on track while I was running the Pilot Super Sport, so not the best tires for track purpose, but when you have a dual duty like this car, where it needs to get you to work, it needs to carry the kids, it needs to go to the grocery, it needs to do the back roads, needs to go to the track, needs to go to the circuit, needs to go to it's a one tire you can depend on, and being able to having probably the best performance in each those areas at a time, so you're not losing too much of a sacrifice having those. Obviously, there are better tires for track purposes, but then you have a second set of wheels, and then you get into that that old situation where I'm not ready to live again. So if you're looking for a best one summer performance tires, obviously the Michelin's are good. There's some other brands out there as well. There's so many Toyos, Triple R's. If you're doing drag, there's the Nittos, the NT05 R or not, the 555 as well. So there's quite a few range there that you can choose from, but that obviously is going to help your braking. If you put a 275 tires in front, 265 or 255, it's going to help. It's going to help to stop faster than those stock 245, that's for sure. Now, braking is not a subject that people, it's not super sexy, other than having that big Brembo 6-piston caliper and that 15-inch rotor. I mean, wow, that's cool, but you know, it's not a subject that's really popular, and I think that's where everything falls in place. Where when you do performance driving, that's where braking it should be on your top priority. I mean, you know, tires number one, and then you know, performance numbers for acceleration and braking are probably equal there, second and third place, where they have to, you know, they have to work together. You have to find the best way to keep them equal. So because if you just add power, I mean, at the end of the strip there, you might miss some brakes. If we take a look at the rotors, you know, the surface is really nice, equally. There's nothing that's no scratches or deep grooves. They're really nice. A little bit blemished now, getting on the blue side, but obviously after such a hard life, you know, that's not surprising. So they're gonna lose some effective braking performance, but you know, it is what it is. Nothing lasts forever. I'm very happy about them. I made a good choice. I don't regret it at all. I think if I was to do it again, I would, absolutely. And, yeah, so if you're looking for a set of brakes, you can find them on Amazon. I believe they're also on Rock Auto. A lot of sites have them as well. So check it out.